Bonjour, hello everyone. I'm Nata, host of the NATA PR School podcast. You're a successful entrepreneur or marketing manager and you're about to launch a new product or service, or you've been selling your goods for quite some time, but you want to learn how to increase your visibility, get known, and reach more clients? At NATA PR, we deal with real clients every day and we'll teach you simple, fun, and honest PR solutions. You'll learn easy steps to combine PR to social media right now. Keep listening and let's get started. Bonjour, hello, and welcome to this 50th episode of the NATA PR School podcast. It's my pleasure today to welcome Eric Wazana, co-founder with his brother Jacob of the Yoga Jeans brand. To me, Yoga Jeans, not just to me, but to many Yoga Jeans lover, Yoga Jeans is really a leader in fair trade denim. With sustainable and social practices, the Yoga Jeans are still made in Canada, even today. So that's really something interesting and amazing. So Yoga Jeans is a company constantly improving its manufacturing practices to reduce its carbon footprint. They really improve everything they do every year. So they continuously minimize waste, for example, and they work towards a circular economy. So they want to give back and make sure that everything they do, I know for example, the water they use to wash their jeans, they reuse the water. So they're really conscious of everything they do when they manufacture yoga jeans. I met Eric more than 20 years ago before creating Yoga Jeans. Seems like yesterday, but that's a while ago when the brand was commercialized under Second Clothing. And NATA PR was the brand's PR agency even back then. So we've been working together for more than 15 years now. And I really witnessed the creation of Yoga Jeans. And I've seen this tremendous evolution of this brand as it continues also to provide women with what is, without a doubt, and it's not because you're a client of mine and I know you, but you are the most comfortable jeans in the world. So if you are a woman listening to this podcast, please run to their website and order a Yoga Jeans. I promise you will never wear any other brand after this. So thank you for accepting my invitation, Eric. It's really, I'm so proud to have you and so touched that you've accepted my invitation for this 50th podcast.
Thank you so much for the honor and having me today, Natalie. It's super appreciated.
No, my pleasure. So I always ask all my guests this very simple question because I always learn, even if I've known you for so long. And when I ask these first questions, I learn new things about my guests. So my first question for you is, who are you? Who is Eric Wazana?
So I'm an entrepreneur. I love fashion. I'm crazy about denim. I always have been since I'm a kid. I'm fascinated by innovation. I love manufacturing as well. I really enjoy collaborating, working with motivated people that, are like-minded, that want to make a difference in this world. And I'm just a person who's very lucky to be able to do something that they love and still, manage to live out of it. So it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun.
And if I'm not mistaken, clothes, fashion, it's part of your DNA. So when you were younger, you were also involved in manufacturing or creating clothes, weren't you?
Yes. My mom was a seamstress, actually. So, it's one of those things that I grew up all around my life, seeing fashion or stuff being made at my house or for us, it's super exciting, Did my first breakdance pants when I was 8 years old. Had my mom arrange my jeans before high school. I would kind of nick them and tear them up apart and have them reconstructed by my mom. I really wanted to have something always unique and kind of push the boundary of just not everything that everybody else had on their backs, So it's a lot of fun and it's super, super exciting. And what's cool about denim is that it's a fabric that, it's you buy it at day one and then you get to love it more and more every day.
Yeah. And I just want to say to our young listeners, because you just mentioned you created a band for breakdancers. So breakdance, if you don't know what it is, it's really the ancestor of hip hop, right? And back in those days, it's crazy. I haven't heard this word in a long time. So were you a break dancer yourself?
For sure, 80s was all about breakdancing. That's how you got the girls to look at you. It was a lot
I
of
had
fun.
no idea. This is such a good story. That's amazing. And tell me, so your mother was a seamstress. Did you learn to sew yourself?
Well, actually, at some point I did some of the sewing, but just
Oh,
because I wanted to play around and everything. But
that's
I
fun.
remember when we were in breakdancing, like all the adults would have like all those like, or I want to say older, like in their 18s and 20-year-olds, they had all this super fresh clothing and all that stuff. And wanted to look like them, so I kind of got my mom to go to the fabric store. I picked a fabric. I told her I wanted the pants to look like that. I drew it for her, and she kind of like really worked hand in hand with me, and we kind of like did something pretty unique and pretty cool.
We forget about it, but back in those days, like we had, my mother was making clothes too. She learned how to sew, so she was at one point too a seamstress as well. But all this to say that us old people, we had our mothers creating clothes for us. Like I don't know if it's something that still exists today. Probably no mother make clothes for their kids anymore.
It was
But
definitely a
this is
different
crazy.
time.
For sure. So let's go back to yoga jeans a little bit because the story is so interesting. And I remember that the collection was really large. It was a ready to wear collection. I remember because first started working for you guys when it was called Second Clothing. And the yoga jeans was at first, it was called, it's a long story short, it's a longer story, but the yoga jeans was called pajama jeans. And that was the beginning of the four-way stretch and how those fabric became so comfortable. And you were really smart to understand this trend and the yoga trend. Like nobody would know 20 years ago that yoga would become so popular. So you kind of own these two words together, yoga and jeans, which I find so amazing. So tell us about the story. So what happened with the rest of the collection that you started making just yoga jeans?
We were doing full collections, ready to wear. Everything was going well to some extent, but we realized that we were really not making any money whatsoever. We were making money in jeans and losing it on the other side, doing all the other exciting, cool stuff.
Mm.
So our accountants, they sat down and they said, listen, you really have something here. Maybe if you focused a little more and maybe just put more energy in this than everything else. We really reflected and turned inside ourselves and say, okay, well, how is it that we're going to create a new benchmark for what a real great jeans should be? And that's where we started, shooting some ideas and everything. And one of the things that we wanted to do was to create the most comfortable jeans. And to be uber comfortable, we said, well, what's the benchmark? We're like, imagine in your jeans. Everybody was like looking at each other and we had this awe moment. So we kind of like went back to the drawing board, redesigned textiles, worked hand in hand with some mills, with some yarns. We really pushed the boundary at every level. We deconstructed the way a typical 5-pocket jeans would be made. We cheated with the patterns. We really, really started thinking outside the box. And it took us like 18, 24 months. And at one point, we had the product and we were like, oh my God, this is actually super
Yeah.
cool. We can actually do
Yeah.
yoga with that. So we went
Yeah.
to the trademark
Yeah.
board and we actually had to fight and prove that you can actually do yoga in jeans because 15 years ago, that was not a thing. It was not
No.
conceivable to have a jeans so comfortable. It's pretty exciting. It's a lot of fun. And
Yeah. And I remember, oh, that's such a cool jean. So I know someone who's going to take a picture. Let's have her sit as Lotus and we'll take a picture. It seems
yeah,
like
I remember
yesterday,
that.
but that's a long time ago. It's crazy how time flies sometimes. But this is such a great story, and we hear that a lot. It's also we can call it a marketing law, like they call it the focus. Like you have to focus on, if possible, focus on one activity or one product that you can do and be the best at. So this is a perfect example of that. Like you created like all these collection, and it took you a little while, a few years to figure out, and then you decided you tried, well, let's see where we go with this yoga jeans, and now this is almost everything that's all you're making, yoga jeans. It's crazy when you
It's
think
the
about
most of
it.
our business, that's for sure. It's really like the leader product, the science
Mm.
of the mind, body, and soul. And everything about yoga is really in the actual company. We really want to find that perfect equilibrium in how we can actually push the boundaries season after season to create more and more great product that's ethical, that's environmentally responsible, that makes a difference. I mean, something as pure and clean and great energy as the product that's infused in the product. Sorry.
Yeah. Most people, most consumers don't realize the amount of work there is behind what they are wearing. A jeans might look like this very simple piece of cloth in your in your wardrobe, but there's so much thinking behind a jean, especially a jean like yours. What I really like though, it's like to me, you not every brand is lucky to have their what I call their 501. If you think about Levi's, they've been making this kind of the same jeans, like actually the core, what they call the 501, and they like reinvented it season after season, season after season. But to me, you had this luck to have a jean that you can always play with. So you start from the yoga jeans, then some some season it's going to be the legging that's going to be more, or it's going to be the elephant, but the core is still the same, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, listen, fashion changes and it adapts and it evolves. And, we have to be loyal to our customer and we have to give them what they're looking for season after season. And that's what we're doing. We're taking our product and we're reinterpreting it and we're innovating fibers and new stuff that makes it more ethical, more eco-friendly. Like the evolution is complete. It's one of those things that, there's the fashion and there's the cuts and the fits, there's the washing techniques that you use, but then there's also the way it's made and your social responsibility.
And where it's made, because for you guys was really important because you could always claim was made in Canada. And it became so important that you were wondering what you were going to do, because the last manufacturer close to Quebec City, like not in Montreal, but kind of 4-hour drives from Montreal, the last jean manufacturer was about to close, and you were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So you decided to buy the manufacturer. This is such an amazing story. So why did you do that?
It's quite an interesting story, actually. You're right. The problem was like, all of a sudden everybody started importing and we realized that, in order really to innovate and to create value, you need to be in control of your manufacturing process. And that's something that we chose to want to keep here as much as possible.
But it's very unique. Like no one else did that, because every other jeans company in North America, they're all manufacturing in China. But you decided not to manufacture in China, which is not a small decision.
For sure. Listen, in 2010, we actually bought a facility in Saint-Côme-Linière. We went into the Beauce region because that's when there was this big closure. 450 people were laid off that summer. We went there, we interviewed talented people, and I'm very proud to say that we still produce jeans here in Canada. Not all of our jeans, but a lot of jeans here in Canada. We have 3 factories. We employ over 300 people, actively. So it's quite exciting. It's a great story. And honestly, we're very proud to have a big print right here in North America. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. Do you think that after the pandemic, more people will want to produce locally more? Because the local trend is such a huge. I call it the most important international trend is the local trend. Like every country's are promoting their local companies, which is great, I find. So for you guys because we had a prime minister that said that, like, please go and buy local products. And so since you were manufactured locally, I guess this was really something that helped you quite a bit during the pandemic.
Definitely. I mean, when people spend money, they vote with their dollars. If you're buying something here, yes, you're helping a company from here. You're keeping all the value here, but you have to realize that for every job that you create, there's 4 indirect jobs that are automatically created. So it's kind of like a pyramidal effect. If you buy more local, you're obviously helping, and that has helped us tremendously. I mean, we had opened our website just a year before the pandemic. And when the pandemic hit, all of our retailers were really suffering. It was really hard for them. They were forced to close their stores, and we had all this excess inventory, and that made a huge difference for us as well.
Yeah, and you were also one of the first Canadian manufacturer to raise your hand and say we will manufacture clothing or goods for the medical people that are helping and help medical staff that needed so much because it was taking a long time to receive. We This is where we realized like everything's made in China, made abroad, like how it can be a big problem when you have a pandemic like we just had. So I think you had so much courage to do that. And we were telling the story. We decided, okay, let's go all into with with the press. Let's tell that story, even if you don't know yet. You didn't even know what you were going to make, but you raise your hand and you say, this is how we're going to help. So tell us about this story.
Yes, for sure. Well, when the pandemic hit, it was really a crazy moment where again, all the retailers were forced to close, and we were like, I had a couple of really dark days where I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen in the future? How are we going to figure this one out? We have worldwide how dependent we are on so many countries for so much of the stuff that we're getting, especially in the PPE segment. And I had some friends that were working in hospitals. We basically, they were telling me that they were missing some gear. And my brother and I discussed and we said, hey, let's try and make a difference. And we started working with one hospital, and then it became 2 and 3 and 4. And we really raised our hand and said, like, we need to make a difference. And within 3 weeks, we had completely converted all of our factory into a full PPE factory for the whole medical community. There was not enough fabric here in North America being made, and there was a big lack. I think the whole world was unprepared for this, and we said, well, how is it that we can actually create a solution? So we actually looked outside the box, and we figured we understood that there was an airbag maker, and we approached him and we said, hey, you make this fabric for those airbags. Would you be interested in actually turning it into medical gowns? And we really innovated, and our R&D team with their R&D team worked together hand in hand. I think we slept like maybe 2-3 hours every 24 hours for like, I don't know, like almost a month, and we created this new fabric and textile and medical blouse that really made the difference. I'm so proud of our team. So that was really a great example of how resilient and local manufacturing really makes a difference in pandemics such as these.
Yeah, and what amazes me is how when everything is just falling apart, then if you after the shock, you're like, okay, but what can we do? And you put your brain in a solution mode, and you did that with your brother, Jacob. And what you're not saying that is you invested a lot of your own money. Plus, was easy to say we're going to make it, but you needed some very specific machinery to do that. And I know that you had machinery coming from from Europe, so you had to pay for crazy shipping by plane that was crazy expensive to buy this equipment, put it in place, train people to use it, and in such a short period of time. This is what we forget. Like it had to be manufactured yesterday. So this is crazy.
It was a very unique moment where Jacob and I looked at each other in the eyes and we're like, okay, how are we going to do this? And we literally remortgaged our houses and we bought millions of dollars in equipment to be able to allow us to do this, to create an additional 336 new jobs locally during the pandemic, high paying jobs. People were so proud. Everybody was in collaborative mode to create and be part of the solution. I mean, it was really inspiring to see all the team work. And we were working at one point 24/7, 3 shifts, for like 7 months straight.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. You was so much work. Like I was telling my partner, like we work a lot, especially during pandemic, because we were in touch with you guys and all of our clients. We really convinced many of our clients to stay. Thanks to all of our clients who stayed with us during that period of time, because many of them were calling us to say, well, sorry, I can't pay you anymore. I have to lay people off and I have to close so many stores. And we convinced many of them, like, why don't you stay on board? Let's do a 3-month plan. We'll reduce our fees. We'll do this. We'll do that. We really doubled down, and something magic happened too. Like what it happened to you guys too as well. It's, oh my God, all the companies that stayed with us got so much visibility during those months right after, let's say the shock, and the media wanted to help companies like you. And I remember, oh my God, you were in one newspaper, like one major Canadian newspaper 3 times in a row. And they even talked about, a specific rebate. They never do that. A specific discount you had in the jeans. I'm like, I'm keeping this one because this is not going to happen again. It was crazy. And it was also fun because you had also stopped for a little bit to work with us because you had your social media team in place. And, it makes sense. Like sometimes you have a certain budget and you decide to invest it in certain part of your marketing plan. And I know we were in discussion just before the pandemic, actually, we should start working again together. And I'm like, yeah, we should. It was fun also because then people were like, oh my God, yes, Yoga Jeans. It's a Canadian company. They're still manufactured. It was, oh my God, it was a lot of fun to do PR in those days, even if it was super scary.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we didn't know, like you guys, you had no idea, will it work? Will the government money come? And will we be able to deliver? And insane.
It's a proud moment. The whole team was very working together, and we were collaborating with you guys and with our team. And it really shows that if you're resilient and you keep pushing and everything, the wind will eventually hit your back, and then you're going to catch momentum.
Yeah, this is something I say too. Sometimes it rains for a very long time, but it will end. One day it's going to end. Yeah. So hang on.
For sure.
So thank God you had already started the web transition. Now all our clients are obsessed with online sales, and thank God you were ready when the pandemic arrived. Not all of our clients were ready, unfortunately, especially if you have a client of ours as a chain of salon and they were in commercial centers. So I can't imagine how difficult it was for them. All this to say that, so have you learned a thing or two? So what did this experience, that online sales, what did you learn from that? And anything you're going to put into place in the future? So tell us about what you're doing to sell more, or what have you learned by selling online?
So on the online, I realized how late I was in the game, but at the same time, we had a very small team when we started the pandemic. What I'm learning is that we have so many great assets in this company, so many great things. We're an upright company. We did so many things the right way, but we're not great storytellers. And we, every time it's, for example, you and me, we talk and you're like, oh my God, we should talk about this and we should do it. And then you manage to get a bunch of articles and get people to know that. But I feel like there's so many things to discover about our brand that we don't even have the time to say. So we really need those good communicators that are going to basically look at that box full of diamonds and just like brush them a little bit so people can see how shiny they are and how great they are. And I think that's where we're at this point. It's one of those, 20 years, I feel like we're an old company, but we literally went through 2 10-year cycles, and I think we're going to stick around for a long time. And
we've made it through.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and know that younger brands know you. Like, there's a brand, I can name them because it's a client now, the Lambert bags. They're 4 years old, but they know you. And they were like super inclined to use your jeans. Yeah, we didn't have the time to talk about it, but I'm like, oh, you should be using Yoga Jeans in your next photo shoot. They're like, oh, yes, we love them. I'm like, oh my God.
Thank you.
So young people know you.
That's crazy. I'm old now. I used to be one of them.
We're still one of them. You know what I'm saying? I decided that I'm going to be the Jane Fonda of PR.
Oh, that's a cool one. I love it.
Yeah. Sometimes we need models that are really far ahead of us. Mm-hmm. And I've been always impressed by that woman. And I think it's 3 months ago, she was featured on the cover of Paris Match. I'm like, this is crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and she's 83, 84 years old. So, see, Eric, we have a lot of time ahead of us. I'm
not even halfway there, so we're good.
Oh my God. But it's good to have models like that. So we can, we look at those people who are still inventing, be present, still are really up to date. And I know you guys are. So tell me before we finish, so what should we hope for you and for Yoga Jeans?
Listen, that we manage, first of all, to be able to help as many retailers as we can get back on track and really make the difference for them. to be able to keep being blessed and do what we love and create great products that we enjoy, that we keep enjoying our industry. And we're seeing a lot of possibilities. And, with good success, comes great responsibilities. So we need to make our part and make a difference, Hopefully we'll be blessed to be able to keep on doing that.
I'm sure. You'll create another crazy jeans. We'll see what's going to happen in the future.
We're working on some really cool stuff, by the
way. See, I knew there's a lot of things I don't know. Well, thank you so much for accepting my invitation, Eric Wazana. It was a real pleasure to have you and be able to share this moment with you. And if you want to know about Yoga Jeans, as always, all the links are below this podcast, so you have all the information. And Yoga Jeans is so easy to find. And this is also something that you were lucky and smart to combine those two words. So this is a marketing law. And when you own some words, then nobody can really beat you at doing a Yoga Jeans. So hopefully you've learned a few things. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. There's a free consultation button too. And I love sharing and hearing about what you're doing in your business. And I hope you'll be there next week. À la semaine prochaine.
Thank you, Natalie.
Hey, you want to learn more about how to implement PR strategies? Head on to natapr.com and get on our list. You will also receive the NATA PR model on how to create a successful PR campaign. If you want to become a client, just send us an email to nata@natapr.com. Talk to you next week. À la semaine prochaine.